As the Elon Musk-funded lawsuit from Gina Carano to the Walt Disney Company continues on, Gina Carano eviscerates the Walt Disney Company as Mark Ruffalo compares America to something we're not going to say on this channel. Let's talk about that on That Park Place. Hello, I am Jonas J. Campbell, an investigative reporter for That Park Place. And here with me is VashSky and also Marvin, the movie monster from not just Tooneytown TV, but Tooneytown Wrestling. Hello, Marvin. Welcome to the channel.
Hello.
So glad to have you here today as we talk about a topic where we're going to be very careful not to say the actual words that are on this screen. Hopefully, there's not an artificial intelligence doing a spider crawl to read every single word. Gina Carano, the former Mandalorian actress, shredded the Walt Disney Company in response to a post from Mark Ruffalo comparing the United States to the situation in Germany many years ago. Ruffalo appeared to react to the U.S. Supreme Court ruling in a 6-3 decision that former presidents have some immunity from criminal prosecution for official acts during his tenure in office. He did not take the ruling well and seemingly compared the United States to a time in the past. He posted on X, just for the record, history is repeating itself. In March of 1933, the Enabling Act becomes law in Germany, giving the chief executive power to enforce his own laws without checks and balances. The passing of the act marked the formal transition from a democratic republic to totalitarian dictatorship. 6 months later, it was a one-party state. Yes, this goes back to the quote, one of my favorite quotes from Captain America, which I didn't do my usual viewing of Captain America on July 4th this year because of a family engagement. But the first country that these people conquered was their own, because not everyone in that country agreed with that view. Here we go. Carano responded to Ruffalo, writing on X, "Double standards on full display. It's a constant and obvious elephant in the room in Hollywood. There is example after example, such as Mark Ruffalo below, that proves this, whom, by the way, I believe should have the right to express himself without getting fired, although I cringe at most all of his political posts. He is an actor, but he is a human being passionately engaging in something that he feels strongly about. It must be a nice feeling to express yourself so freely."
Wow. Good for Gina. That is such a high road kind of way to put that, because Mark Ruffalo would not call Gina Carano a human being passionately engaging in something that she feels strongly about.
Oh yeah, Ruffalo is very unguarded in most of his political takes online, to the point where I think he's more worried about that than his career, and that's fine. That's fine. Because he's in Hollywood, he will continue to get cast in roles. I think it affects his marketability to a certain point. That means that he has to show up and he really has to bring it in the role. If he was a more milquetoast actor, I think that his career would be completely over at this point if the conservative side of the country had their way. Vash, you look like you have something to say.
Oh, no, I was just going to basically echo your sentiments that Mark Ruffalo does get away with talking about some of these things in these ways. And because he's a high profile character within a big franchise like Marvel, that's a whole different thing than, maybe Gina Carano, who is some people have said that she's a side character on an offshoot show like The Mandalorian, doesn't quite have the same luxury afforded to her. And I think she was expressing that poignantly here.
Well, obviously. She added, not everyone in this country has that privilege without having everything that they love taken from them. Do we wonder why he has that privilege and I did not? The answers are in my case. This is, of course, the case where Gina Carano has decided to sue the Walt Disney Company because of the way that she was fired from The Mandalorian. And Lucasfilm, well, there's some debate whether or not her contract was up at that point. It seems clear based off of Gina Carano's filings, which that lawsuit obviously funded by Elon Musk. It says in those filings that Gina was making similar statements, comparing, not even directly stating that America was becoming totalitarian, but talking about the unrest in the country and the hatred in the country that allowed one political party to take power and got other citizens of that country to rat on their fellow citizens for trivial things and hand them over to a totalitarian dictatorship here. I think that's really the problem that I see here is she said something that maybe she shouldn't have said, And I'm not even going to say she shouldn't have said it. Maybe she shouldn't have said it. But on the same token, everyone else in that production seemed to be saying similar things on one side or the other. But it was Gina Carano that was the problem. And then Lucasfilm said that she made a despicable statement comparing one political party to Jewish people, which I think that's a stretch.
Yeah, at the end of the look, she was making the same statements that Pedro Pascal was making like a week later, only she made it for the side that didn't agree with Kathleen Kennedy. Now, I have absolutely no problem with anyone's political stance. The only other beings in this universe that know my political stance are the atoms that are that compose the pen and piece of paper that I fill out in the voting booth, because I believe it's a private matter if you want it to be a private matter. That being said, we live in a country where you are supposed to be free to express your opinion. You know, talking about a major political party in this country, whether you agree with it or not, is still something that should be allowed. Now, the one thing that I hate more than anything in this world is a hypocrite. And to say that there's nothing wrong with Mark Ruffalo's comments, but there was something wrong with Gina Carano's comments, that is hypocritical. And that, in my opinion, is just the cardinal offense here, is hypocrisy of the highest order.
Right. It's also bad marketing, because Gina Carano at the time was expressing views that, while they might not have been popular with the establishment, there was obviously a large segment of the country who were thinking in that same way. And you can talk about chilled speech and things like that on certain platforms, that you don't talk about things because you don't want to run afoul of the people who run that platform, so you don't give them an excuse to kick you out. So instead of talking about something, and yes, I am saying this with full eyes open, considering how we've approached this video. So you don't talk about something, or you don't use certain words, or you stay away from this topic in general. I don't even think that she would have been afforded that luxury if she was vague about it, because she was vague about it. And I'm not saying that she was saying what they implied that she said, but I want to go back to her quotes here. And I think this is classy on her part. Gina Carano continued, "I know people would prefer basketball players to just dribble or actors to just act. But when you're in a world where lives are being destroyed and lost all around you, does any human being become forced to stay silent when death by injustice surrounds them? Disney and Lucasfilm maliciously twisted the narrative of a meme I posted, which was encouraging neighbors not to demonize their neighbors, or history could repeat itself. They twisted that meme into saying that I was denigrating people off of their cultural and religious beliefs. It was suggested that I was comparing one party to people in one of the worst things that has ever happened in the history of this world, something that I never said or posted," she asserted. Man, they all look great by there. By the way, Carl Weathers, rest in peace. Gina Carano looking fantastic. And I have yet to see that Mandalorian armor not looking super cool. Carano then declared, "I called no one that thing. I did not deny the existence of that other thing." And read that last sentence again. "I never did this, yet I was smeared as that." That doesn't seem to happen to a certain group of people that choose to use these comparisons as well. Why is that? There are rules for thee and not for me. So what are the rules exactly? And I think this is the frustrating state that we find ourselves here. I agree with you, Marvin. People should be allowed to say what they say. Now, there are, of course, consequences in the free market of ideas. But right now, if you look at the consequences of the free market, since I've brought that up, Disney stock was at 200 at the moment that Gina Carano was very publicly fired by the Walt Disney Company. Whether or not that is the specific term for it, they made a show of her contract not being renewed and did it very publicly. And since then, just looking down at my watch here, yep, $97.28. I'm not saying that those are directly correlated, but I would say the position that Disney had at the time versus the position that Disney has now in the cultural zeitgeist, there might be more to those two data points than most people would want to admit. Do you guys have any comments before we wrap this video up?
Well, part of the reason why Disney is in the position that they are in, at least with Gina Carano and Gina Carano suing them, is because they didn't actually map out, they didn't set the rules. I think that's what Gina Carano was kind of saying at the end there, at least a little bit, right? It's like, okay, yes, actors obviously can express their ideas or thoughts or interests and so forth, even if they're connected to certain programming. It's just, what are necessarily the rules? How far can you go? And it's Disney's inability to set that out in advance that's really gotten to this point right now. A lot of people have said, hey, look, listen, How about we cool it at least when these things are being promoted, at least when these things are around the times that these things are being released? How about we have some of the talent cool it with some of the opinions on such spicy topics or issues?
What possible show could you be referencing, Vash?
Yes, exactly. Well, it's there. I mean, the fact that that's a question is really something. But just cool it at least when, like, I don't know, The Acolyte comes out, or The Mandalorian comes out, or even like Andor comes out.
Yeah,
at least for the moment,
maybe don't
blanket with all the actors.
An expletive-filled rap song dissing half of the audience.
Yes, exactly. Yes, let's cool it on that, at least for the moment, and that goes for everybody, right? And then we just have a kind of blanket policy that really doesn't take pot shots at the audience in that way, or doesn't bring up spicy topics that could divide the audience. I think it's a big thing here, and something that Disney hasn't done, and it's inexplicable as to why.
Yep. Marvin, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I mean, look, when you can't say that it was, they just decided not to renew her contract, because if you look, they tried to have her go into the virtual stockade with this kind of thing. Remember, she was supposed to sit in on those like chat rooms where they were going to have like activists, LGBT activists come in and like basically scream at her for hours, so that she could just sit there and like take her lumps. Like, it was essentially being put in the stockade and letting the townspeople throw old fruit at you. And she refused to do it. And then all of a sudden,
word for it that we're not going to be using in this video. But yes, it's very reminiscent of a country overseas.
Yes.
And in the same breath that they ended their association with Gina, they were saying, "Oh, she said these despicable things." So you can't even say.
And they slandered her on the way out. It's inexcusable. She's got an open and shut case, as far as I'm concerned. It all depends on what judge she gets.
Right, and by California law, I think that she's got a case in a way that she wouldn't if it wasn't specifically California. And I hope that there's a big strong. Well, obviously, Elon Musk has come in and said, "I'll be your Huckleberry." Haha. I made a legal joke there. That being said, we want to throw this to our commenters here. I have some guesses about how you feel about it, but I won't know unless you tell me. Also, it helps out the channel if you let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Of course, another way you can help is by liking this video if you found it engaging. And of course, consider subscribing to That Park Plays for all the news that should be fun.
Thanks for watching That Park Plays News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.